Hey, hey, Trevy's painting table fans! Hey everybody, Trevor the Great here again with another awesome Warhammer 40,000 battle report in my Valhalla edition series. This is another game at Valhalla, obviously, because it's in the Valhalla edition sort of series of battle reports. This one is another Space Marine versus Space Marine sort of matchup. It is, except Blood Angels versus Space Marines, because obviously my guys are Blood Angels, which are more awesome than normal Space Marines, as everyone knows. This is on some more awesome terrain that Blue Table Painting put together. It's like a desert town. It almost looks like Tatooine from Star Wars. Very cool. And this game is 1,500 points, so a little different than the other ones we've been playing. It's a little smaller. So obviously my list has changed a little bit. I dropped a couple things out. I dropped some of the upgrades on my models. I kept in the Sanguinor, the 3 assault squads with their weaponry, as well as the Sanguinary Guard and the Storm Raven gunship. Although I think that I dropped like extra armor on the Storm Raven, I dropped the Chapter Banner, I dropped the Dreadnought out, and I dropped the Vanguard veterans out of my list, and I also dropped 2 of my Sanguinary Priests to make it 1,500 points. But obviously still a very tough list. Lots and lots of assault troops in this list, which is excellent for me. But a little less anti-tank, because I figured that there'd be a little less of those heavily armored tanks like Land Raiders, things like that I'd have to deal with. So I wouldn't need like a Dreadnought, and I wouldn't need the extra attacks from Vanguard veterans. So what my opponent had was a very mech-heavy list, which is, I guess, ironic considering I dropped a lot of my anti-tank stuff. He had 2 Vindicators, as well as, I believe, a Rhino with a tactical squad in it, and a normal foot tactical squad with its split into 2 combat squads, a big unit of Terminators, as well, assault Terminators, as well as a captain in Terminator armor to join them. So here here's the terrain setup. The scenario is capture and control, so the 2 objectives, one in each deployment zone, and the deployment is pitched battle. Pretty consistent theme this weekend. Lots of pitched battle games getting played. So the objectives are in the lower center of the picture. You can see there's a little sort of moisture evaporator looking setup just behind my Storm Raven. That is my objective, the center post in that, and my opponent has a similar thing on the building in the far left-hand corner of the board. So right above that in the center of the picture, up on that building, way in the distance, is another one of those little setups, and that's his objective. So he's going to be trying to keep that away from me, although I do have Assault Marines, so I will be able to run around real fast and be able to take those objectives. But I am worried about those Vindicators. They'll be able to annihilate my Assault Marines if I do get into line of sight with those guys. So I'll be trying to keep those behind those buildings and protect myself from those blast templates as much as possible. I do have 1 Assault Marine squad down in the lower right-hand corner, 1 up in the upper left-hand corner, and then 1 in the building in the center of my deployment zone there. As well as I deployed the Sanguinor out with the assault squad down in my lower left, just because I didn't want to have to deep strike him. I think I did drop my locator beacon too, so he wouldn't be deep striking without scattering. And then I have a Sanguinary Priest in the upper left-hand squad, as well as the lower right-hand squad. The squad in the middle gets no Sanguinary Priest love, so sucks to be them. Yeah. So we'll get into first turn and see how this game goes. Okay, so here's after the first turn. I believe I took the first turn in this game, and my opponent went second. I think that's how it worked. But anyway, my opponent ran up pretty much across the board, just moved all his troops up. I sat there with my Storm Raven on the first turn and unloaded on that Vindicator that's in the center of the picture there. I fired all 4 of my Bloodstrike missiles. I fired my Malta, and I fired my last cannon. I didn't roll too hot on that, but I did destroy its Demolisher cannon, which means that the Vindicator basically just turned into just a moving armor 13 wall. And he was going to move that up and try to contest my objective, just be really annoying, and force me to allocate resources to attack it. So that's what happened there. I do have the assault squad in the building shooting melta guns at it, but unfortunately I'm not being able to roll enough to do much damage to it. He also moved up a Rhino on the well, I moved up my squads on the left side of my right flank, and in order to be able to put pressure on his objective and hopefully move around the back over the course of the game and take out those troops choices that he has hiding in the back of his deployment zone. I moved my assault marines on the left hand up, but only a little bit, so that they were out of range of the other Vindicator, and so they didn't get owned by Demolisher Cannon. Something I forgot to mention: my opponent does have an Ironclad Dreadnought over in his deployment zone. You can sort of see it between those two buildings over on the left-hand corner, upper left-hand side of the picture. Forgot to mention that earlier. So in response, my opponent unloads his troops on my right-hand flank and unloads on my assault squads, but I'm not able to do much damage. I was passing armor saves like a boss this game. It was pretty awesome. And just takes some pot shots and moves up generally, but isn't really able to do a lot of lasting damage. So I think I got it wrong last turn. This is my opponent did take the first turn, so this is the end of the second round, and my opponent went first in the second round. And the first round, obviously, but I think I got that mixed up in my head. Because what happened here is that my opponent fired with his Ironclad, the Ironclad I mentioned earlier, and was able to immobilize my Storm Raven, which basically, because it had moved at all, it just floated down to that building there, and unfortunately was forced to unload the Sanguinary Guard that it was holding, because obviously I couldn't really move it anywhere, so it's now just a stationary single las cannon turret, because I'm not really at range or line of sight with that multi-melta to fire at anything. So other than that, in my opponent's turn, he basically moved up. He took some shots at the assault squad on my left flank, was able to kill, I think, 1 or 2 with the Demolisher Cannon. I did spread them out enough so it didn't hit too many, and I also had cover, so I was able to minimize casualties there, which is good, but I won't be able to get as many models into combat now because they're all spread out. Other than that, besides that shooting, my opponent really didn't do much in his turn. In my turn, I assaulted the combat squad that had gotten out of the Rhino on my right-hand flank and was able to wipe that out and then consolidate up. Obviously, my Sanguinary Guard moved up along the side of that wall to try to hide themselves from more casualties from shooting, and they're probably going to be in range to do some assaulting next turn, which is good, and hopefully get a combo assault off with that other assault squad and be able to wipe out some of those small troops choices that are hiding out in the square over there, the little town square area up in the top right-hand corner of the picture. So other than that, another relatively uneventful turn. A lot of things just maneuvering and moving up. I did take a shot at the Rhino on the left-hand side of my flank, but I wasn't able to do any damage to it. I ended up missing. So there's that. Okay, here we go. This is the end of round 3, I believe. Stuff actually started happening, which is good. My opponent basically continued to move around and fire at my guys. His Vindicator moved up down the bottom there and to try to contest my objective. And his guys fired at my approaching assault squad and my Sanguinary Guard squad, but weren't able to do any casualties because I was rolling lots of armor saves. He took another shot with his Vindicator, but wasn't able to do any damage. I believe it scattered off of the squad, so I was safe there. That was a lucky roll for me. In my phase, things started happening. My assault squad on my right hand flank moved up basically to try to get closer to my enemy. My Sanguinary Guard and the Sanguinor were able to combo assault. I had just enough movement to combo assault the 2 assault squads that were hiding back there. There's one assault squad hiding behind the Vindicator up in the center of the picture there, and you can't really see right now. But they were able to combo assault that unit and wipe out the first assault squad. But then the second assault squad was still in combat. I only hit 2 models in base contact, so I was only able to do 4 wounds, which was great because there was 1 model remaining, and I just consolidated in. He passed his leadership test, and so I couldn't get shot at next turn, which was the best possible scenario for me, which is awesome. My assault squad on my left-hand flank assaulted the combat squad hiding behind the Rhino, but unfortunately, because I'd spread my guys out, because I wasn't rolling too well on that assault, I was not able to destroy the combat squad. I killed, I think, 3 models, and unfortunately, that leaves me open for a pretty horrendous counterattack next turn, which is probably going to kill that squad. Which is okay, though, because as long as I can kill, there's 2 more combat squads remaining, as long as I can kill those, I'll be guaranteed at least a draw, and if I can wipe out this Vindicator in my deployment zone, I'll probably have the game in the bag. Okay, here's the next round. basically, what I've said has been true so far. The my assault squad, well, my opponent pretty much assaulted everything into that assault squad that I had on my left flank. He was able to do a bunch of wounds, but I believe those guys had rolled up Red Thirst, so they were fearless and were able to save most of the wounds with their Sanguinary Priest. But there's only a couple of them left because they did just get assaulted by a Terminator squad as well as a Dreadnought. So they're not looking too happy right now. Although hopefully I'll be able to wipe out that combat squad before my whole squad goes down, because they do have the Sanguinar's champion in there, so they'll be able to do quite a bit of damage. In my turn, my assault squad moved up towards closer to his objective. My Sanguinary Guard, I believe, assaulted that last combat squad and wiped it out. So basically, the one in combat with my assault squad is the only troops choice my opponent has remaining. My assault squad on top of that building up there were able to shoot down with their multi-gun and wreck the Vindicator that's sitting below my Storm Raven before it got to my objective. So unfortunately, that means that that's not going to be able to contest, and that I'll be able to grab my objective with that assault squad come turn 5. So looking pretty good for me so far. I'll probably have a win in the bag just because my opponent doesn't really have anything that he can use to attack my my objective. So yeah. Okay, this is going to be the last photo of the game. So here's what happened. I moved my assault squad up to try to take that objective. My opponent retaliated by over the course of the next 2 turns. I think I missed a picture in here. Over the course of the next 2 turns, my opponent moved up his Terminator squad up into that building and was able to assault my assault squad and do a bunch of damage to it. But it didn't really matter because the objective was contested at that point because neither of us really had it. I was able to wipe out his combat squad as well in combat with my assault squad, and they eventually wiped out that assault squad, and the Dreadnought, the Ironclad Dreadnought, there turned around and assaulted the Sanguinor. So fortunately, the Sanguinor's got Eternal Warrior and a 3+ invuln save. So I think he took 1 or 2 wounds from the Dreadnought, but was able to hold him up in combat. I can't hurt him, unfortunately, but all I need to do is hold him so that he won't be able to do more damage to my guys. The Sanguinary Guard jumped up in the building there like pansies so they wouldn't get attacked by any of those big, scary combat units. And then my assault squad just on my roof just jumped off the roof and onto my objective. So took that objective over pretty handily, which was good. So that gave me the win, 1-0 win for the Blood Angels, which is sweet. Mainly because my opponent just didn't have any assault units to attack me and no troops to take his own objective. So obviously, a couple things my opponent could have done differently. I think he had a lot of armor, something that I had trouble dealing with unless it was at very short range, and I think he could have used that to his advantage by just moving those guys up and assaulting my guys while keeping his combat squads back in buildings and things where they would be hard to get to. He did leave some combat squads out. One Rhino was going to attack my objective, but it just wasn't enough. I was able to overwhelm it with the Sanguinor and his attendant assault squad. So I think if he'd put heavier armor to attack my objective, and perhaps more of those assault troops like his Terminators, which he used very defensively, he probably would have had a lot better chance at winning the game. So if he just played a little more aggressively against an army that, while my army is fast and aggressive, it doesn't really do well against counter aggression. I can't really defend objectives very well, and I can't really take an assault very well. All I have is a 3+ armor save, protecting me, and Terminators don't really care about 3+ armor saves. So that's how that went. All in all, it was a great game on an awesome board. I believe my opponent was a BTP employee. I don't remember his name, though. Very sorry, everybody. But it was an awesome game. Great people to play against. So stay tuned for some more Valhalla battle reports. Trevy the Great out.